What if things went differently in the Star Wars original trilogy? Star Wars was created by George Lucas in 1977 and was about, well, a war around the stars. The so-called original trilogy consists of A New Hope from 1977, The Empire Strikes Back from 1980 and Return of the Jedi from 1983. These three movies, especially The Empire Strikes Back, are widely regarded as some of the best movies, and would birth Star Wars as a franchise that still exists and is after Marvel the second biggest franchise in the world. In it, farm boy Luke Skywalker would go on a mission to become a Jedi, and alongside Han Solo and Leia Organa stop the Galactic Empire run by Darth Vader and the Emperor. But what if that didn't happen? What if things went differently in the Star Wars original trilogy? What if Luke remained on Tatooine? In the first timeline, R2-D2 and C-3PO make it safely to Obi-Wan Kenobi and don't meet with Luke Skywalker. Luke remains a farm boy and his uncle and aunt aren't killed. Obi-Wan, the droids you aren't looking for, Han Solo and Chewbacca fly off in the Millennium Falcon with a bored Luke watching and hoping to also one day leave this planet. Han Solo and Chewbacca still manage to save Leia, and Obi-Wan still confronts Darth Vader, but in this timeline, instead of allowing Darth Vader to kill him, distracts him and flees with the others. The Battle of Yavin still takes place and Obi-Wan flies in an X-Wing one last time. He flies along the corridor, but Han Solo doesn't return as he has no bond with Obi-Wan. His plane is shot and starts to burn, with the Force being the only thing keeping it going. Obi-Wan fires his shot and allows himself to be blown up. His place and the Death Star explode simultaneously. Obi-Wan might have died, but the battle is won, and with Darth Vader not drifting away, the explosion also killed him. Not only did the Empire lose the Death Star and Grand Moff Tarkin, but also Darth Vader. The Empire would need a lot of time to recover from this defeat, and the Republic would use this time greatly. Without Luke joining the rebels, he wouldn't find a probe droid, which was later rediscovered by Han Solo. Thus the Empire is never informed of the location of the rebels. Furthermore, it was Darth Vader who, against the orders of lesser generals, ordered the attack. With that, the rebels grow in strength on the icy planet. Eventually the Empire would build a new Death Star, and the Battle of Endor still happens. The rebels would win both on the moon and on the Death Star, destroying it. But before it did explode, the Emperor fled the scene. Nobody even knows that he is still alive, and his empire crumbles before his eyes. After a few years, Darth Sidious returns to Republic City on Hosnian Prime, which is the capital of the Republic. The new Republic threw everything it had at him, but it just wasn't enough, and he took over the planet with plans for further conquest. However, a broad Jedi alliance consisting of Ahsoka Tano, Kelleran Bik Cal Kestis, and Gungi would face off against the Dark Lord in an epic fight. Darth Sidious is more powerful than all four of them, but they fight as a team while he fights all alone, and in the end Ahsoka would land the killing blow, bringing an end to the Sith. Hosnian Prime would be freed, and the galaxy cheers as the Sith Lord is dead now for good. Ahsoka, Kelleran, Cal and Gungi would rebuild the Jedi Order, and it would grow in number. They discover that Leia Organa is the daughter of Darth Vader and is Force-sensitive. They also discover that he had a son, who is in Tatooine, and they eventually also find him and recruit him. In this timeline, Darth Vader doesn't die a hero, while Obi-Wan dies an epic death. The Empire would be massively weakened in Yavin, which would lead to its dissolution in Endor, all without any Jedi, and then the death of Darth Sidious a few years later. What if Luke stayed at Dagobah? In this timeline, Luke listens to Yoda and stays on Dagobah, and doesn't help his friends on Bespin. Darth Vader increasingly grows impatient, and has to accept that Luke doesn't come. Han Solo is still brought to Jabba the Hutt, and Darth Vader holds Leia and Chewbacca captive to force Luke to eventually show himself. There he also reveals to Leia that he is her father and Luke is her brother, and decides to temptate her to the dark side. R2-D2 is decomposed into scraps and then sold, while C-3PO is programmed to be loyal to the Empire. Darth Vader didn't want to destroy his former robot, and keeps him around. Luke would eventually finish his training and Yoda dies, revealing him his father and sister. Luke then finally decides to help out his friends. He did have to abandon Han for now, because he knows that he wouldn't be able to save him on his own. The rebels still confront the Empire with its second Death Star at Endor, and Luke sneaks into the Death Star. There he meets Darth Vader and the Emperor and tells the Emperor that he won't join the dark side. Palpatine wasn't fazed by this and says that he already expected this and thus had already planned for an alternative. Leia enters the room. She wears all black and has black makeup on her face with glowing orange eyes and a red lightsaber in her right hand. Furious, Luke demands to know what the Emperor did to Leia. Darth Sidious says that he helped her find the truth in the dark side, and that Leia's name is now Darth Doctor. He offers Luke one last chance to join the dark side, to finally reconnect the family, but he refuses. He then orders Darth Doctor to attack Luke. Luke fought bravely, but his compassion and love for his sister would get the worst of him, and she would get out on top and holds his and her lightsabers on his throat, ready to kill him, similar to Anakin to Count Dooku. Not wanting her to end like him and not wanting his son to die, Darth Vader demands her to stop. Darth Sidious, however, threatens Darth Vader that if she doesn't kill him, both will die. Darth Vader offered that they could brainwash Luke similar to Leia, and he agrees. But then from the back, Darth Sidious impaled Darth Vader and he falls down. Darth Sidious tells him that he is aware of his coup plots to take over for himself. Darth Vader dies and he tells Darth Doctor to kill Luke, which she does. The Empire would then blow up Endor and destroy the rebellion, as Darth Doctor knows all of their secrets. Soon after the war concludes, Darth Doctor travels to Tatooine and slaughters her way to Han and frees him. She tells him that the Empire has won and that they can live together. He laughs, thinking that she is joking, but quickly finds out that she isn't. Worried, has asks what happened to Luke, and she tells him that he is dead. Han tells her that they can't be together like this, but she just ignites her lightsaber and tells him that it isn't for him to decide. Darth Doctor would eventually have a kid, namely Sheev Skywalker, or later Darth Kylo. She would shortly thereafter betray Darth Sidious and kills him in his sleep, just like he did to Darth Plagueis. She then becomes the new Empress of the Galactic Empire, with Darth Kylo being her heir. In this timeline, with Luke not arriving at the spin, Leia becomes a Sith Lord, and the Empire would come out on top under her. What if Darth Vader didn't die? In this timeline, when Darth Vader turned on the Emperor and threw him into certain death, the Emperor didn't substantially damage his suit and he is still fine. Lando still blows up the Death Star, but not before Luke and Anakin escaped. Luke returns to Endor to celebrate with his friends. They, especially Han, were shocked to see the Dark Lord, the murderer of thousands, standing behind him. Han would blast at Anakin, but he just deflects all the beams. He and Luke explain what happened, and that Anakin is good now. While they celebrate, Anakin has a conversation with Obi-Wan and Yoda, and he apologizes for everything he did. Obi-Wan and Yoda accept his apology, and after looking at each other smilingly, they grant him the rank of Master. Anakin helps Luke to rebuild the Jedi Order, which he destroyed over 2 decades ago, and soon it would grow in number. He would also spend a lot of time bonding with his children and C-3PO. Eventually Han and Leia would have a son, Ben Solo, and he would join the Jedi Order. Ben wouldn't have a Darth Vader to idolize, as Anakin is still alive and he tells him how terrible his past truly was. Due to that, he doesn't get tempted to the dark side, and Luke doesn't try to kill him. This leads to Kylo not killing most of the other students and recruiting the rest as the Knights of Ren. Anakin dies roughly around the time of the burning of the Jedi Temple, or the beginning of the Galactic Cold War. Without him, the First Order is significantly weaker. Furthermore, with the former Darth Vader campaigning for the New Republic, the First Order loses a lot of legitimacy and support. Jedi Knight Ben Solo and pilot Poe Dameron would discover the plans for the Star Killer base, but would still get interrupted by the First Order. Ben tells Poe to escape and gives him time. He fought valiantly and slaughtered a lot of stormtrooper, but would eventually be overwhelmed and held captive. FN 1287 or later Finn would help Ben to escape, and on Jakku they meet with Rey. With the plans from Poe, the Resistance would destroy the Star Killer base a little bit earlier. The First Order would still pursue the Resistance, but they find sanctuary at the Jedi Temple. An oic battle between the First Order on one side and the Jedi Order and Resistance on the other emerges, with the Jedi coming out on top. Luke would then train Rey. Being angry that he lost the Star Killer base and entire First Order in such a short time, Palpatine kills Snoke and takes things into his own hands. The finale battle at Exegol would also include Han, Luke and the Jedi, and Luke, Ben and Rey would together defeat Palpatine, while the rest destroy the fleet. In this timeline, Ben remains good, and the First Order is much weaker. The Jedi are also alive. In all of these timelines, the outcome of the original trilogy would be completely different from what we got, and those changes also trickle down to the sequels. If you liked the episode, leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe. Goodbye.